A massive shift is happening in the global economy right now. Not slowly, not theoretically, but structurally. Companies are rebuilding supply chains. Production is being repositioned. Billions of dollars are moving across borders. This is what many are calling the reshoring boom. But that description is incomplete, because what's actually emerging is something far more important: a new economic layer, a middleman economy, and Mexico is at the center of it. For decades, the global system followed a simple logic: move production to the cheapest location. China became the factory of the world. Supply chains stretched across continents. Efficiency became the priority. Cost became the strategy. But that system started to break. Trade tensions increased. Labor costs began to rise. Geopolitical risks became harder to ignore. And most importantly, supply chain disruptions exposed how fragile the system had become. Events like the COVID-19 pandemic revealed a critical weakness. When production is too far away, control is lost. Delays increase. Costs become unpredictable, and companies become vulnerable. So the system began to evolve, not by fully returning home, but by moving closer. This is what we now call nearshoring, and this is where the reshoring boom actually takes shape. Not as a return, but as a repositioning. And Mexico is emerging as the most strategic position in that shift. This is not speculation. It is already measurable. According to McKinsey Company, nearly 90% of companies have already begun restructuring their supply chains to prioritize resilience over pure cost efficiency. That means the system is no longer optimizing only for cheap production. It is optimizing for control, speed, and stability. At the same time, the World Bank reports that Mexico has become one of the fastest-growing manufacturing hubs connected to the United States, driven by nearshoring demand. Trade flows are shifting, production is relocating, and capital is following. But here's the critical insight most people miss. When systems become more complex, they do not just move, they expand. They create layers, and those layers create opportunity. This is where the middleman economy begins. Because Mexico is not replacing the United States, and it is not competing directly with China. It is sitting in between, acting as a bridge between production and consumption, between cost efficiency and market access, between global supply and regional demand. And in every system where value moves from one point to another, there is always value in the middle. That is where coordination happens. That is where inefficiencies are solved. That is where money is made. The middleman economy is not about factories. It is about flow. It is made up of individuals and businesses that do not produce goods, but make the system work. They connect suppliers to buyers. They coordinate logistics. They manage communication across borders. They build systems that allow complex operations to function smoothly, and they capture value in between. Now think about what happens when a company moves production to Mexico. It does not just need workers. It needs suppliers. It needs logistics partners. It needs data systems. It needs marketing. It needs customer support. It needs cross-border coordination. And most of these functions are not tied to location. They are digital, which means they are global. This is where the opportunity expands beyond geography. Platforms like LinkedIn allow you to identify companies expanding into new regions. Marketplaces like Upwork allow you to access businesses already looking for support. But access alone is not enough. You need positioning. If you want to enter this middleman economy, there are 3 practical paths. First, position yourself as a connector. Identify companies that are moving production or restructuring supply chains. Then, offer services that help them navigate that transition. This could be supplier research, market insights, coordination support, or communication between stakeholders. Second, build a service around a growing need. As systems become more complex, demand increases for logistics support, sourcing, operations management, and digital coordination. You are not competing with factories. You are supporting them. Third, leverage information. Every economic shift creates confusion. and confusion creates demand for clarity. You can create content, tools, or simple systems that help businesses and individuals understand and navigate this shift. Because those who simplify complexity capture value. Now let's go deeper, because this is not a temporary trend. According to the World Economic Forum, global supply chains are being redesigned around resilience, regionalization, and strategic control. This means the global economy is no longer one interconnected system. It is becoming a network of regional hubs. North America, Europe, Asia, and within North America, Mexico is becoming a central node, not just for production, but for coordination. This creates long-term implications. Supply chains will become shorter, but more complex. Demand for coordination will increase. Demand for skilled talent will increase. And value will shift toward those who understand systems, not just tasks. Now here is where it becomes strategic. Over the next decade, this shift will accelerate in 3 clear ways. First, Mexico will continue to attract manufacturing investment as companies reduce dependence on distant supply chains. Second, a new class of cross-border operators will emerge, people who understand how to navigate between markets, systems, and regions. And third, the gap will widen between those who rely on local opportunities and those who position themselves globally. Because the middleman economy is not local, it is global, and it rewards those who understand flow, not just effort. Now here's the takeaway. If you want to benefit from this shift, you need to change how you think. Stop focusing only on jobs. Start focusing on systems. Where is value moving? Where are gaps forming? Where is coordination needed? Because every gap is an opportunity, and every system needs connectors. Mexico is not just gaining factories, it is becoming a bridge, and bridges create movement. Movement creates demand, and demand creates opportunity. The question is not whether this shift is happening. It is. The real question is, will you remain at the edge of the system, or will you position yourself at the center of it? If you want to understand how to actually earn within this new system and position yourself globally, watch the next video on how people are earning in dollars without leaving their country. Follow Next Gen Wealth Insights and stay ahead. We build systems here.